Maybe I'm slightly sleeping on this season because as I go through more shows, I'm actually finding quite a few I think I'll continue to keep up with. The most recent one I've become interested in is the Apothecary Diaries. It starts out with introducing our main character Mao Mao and then immediately watching her get kidnapped after going out for daily chores and tasks. She's forced to work as a low-level servant under the Emperor. Mao Mao is very competent and adapts quickly to the easy grunt-level work and even goes out of her way to fake illiteracy because she believes it'll just cause more problems if they know, and feigning ignorance is the easiest way to live. She's content with just serving her sentence here for a couple years and being able to go back home. However, her weird but kind-hearted nature gets her found out when both concubines, newly born babies, are extremely sick due to a makeup powder they apply that's poisonous. She knows this from her background in pharmacy living in a poor red light district. I found myself growing attached to Mao Mao quickly, and I think it's because she reminds me of Futashi from Humanity Has Declined. She's also quick-witted like Mao Mao and has a bit of a cynical side to herself that advances the level of comedy to all her interactions with the cast. They both have also stepped up into pretty important roles at such a young age, and while they enjoy them, it's a lot of work that they have to put in every day. Mao Mao seems to really only enjoy testing medicine and the effects of certain items on the human body, going as far to let venomous snakes bite her arms in the past just to see what it's like. This thirst for knowledge makes her really advanced in medical treatment at such a young age. It also makes her extremely helpful to the higher-ups when they track her down based on her evidence on the cloth. Since all the girls are illiterate, he writes a message to Mao Mao and notices a visible reaction when she reads it, ratting herself out. Pretty silly, but the scene's quite funny, especially because of Mao Mao's unique facial expressions. The one who finds her out is the eunuch Jinshi, who manages a lot of the functions inside the palace. Quite smart as well and uses his extremely attractive physique to win over all of the concubines, ladies in waiting, so they'll follow along with what he says easier. Jinshi tries this on Mao Mao, but she seems so disinterested in relationships it grosses her out, which funnily enough he gets a kick out of since people only look at him with such loving eyes. The disgust actually feels nice. After the concubines and Jinshi notice how useful she is compared to the doctor they have at the moment, they start assigning her missions basically, and the story takes a turn for more of the episodic feel, which I have really been enjoying for the last 4 episodes that are out. I don't want to dive too deep into her missions as I feel they are best experienced blind, but they stay engaging, and the main thing selling the show for me is how likable all the characters are. They did a really good job of making these characters while high class, quite human, and actually kind. Even though Mao Mao was kidnapped, she's really in much of a higher class living than she was before back in the red light district. You can also tell she cares about helping people and continuing her research above all else. Mao Mao's kind-hearted spirit makes it easier to get attached to her and care for what she's doing. While some characters are aiming for certain goals, Mao Mao doesn't really intrude on any of their plans, so she's treated extremely well by everyone else as well. I was genuinely shocked by how caring the people in this show are, especially the ladies in waiting. They instantly welcomed her into their group, and they don't even make her do any of the chores because she has to constantly test food for poison, so they're always worried she might keel over at any given dinner time. Certain people inside the palace are obviously skeptical of her abilities when she first arrives, but through her impressive knowledge of medicine, they all end up respecting her. Mao Mao is also no pushover, having an incredibly dramatic scene in the 4th episode where she definitely oversteps her boundaries, while for good reason still scary for her as she hasn't really been there for that long. The character interactions have a decent bit of comedy to them as well. Definitely not anything hilariously over the top, but the comedic relief for certain scenes is really well placed and doesn't really take away from anything dramatic happening in the episodes, which is important to make sure it still feels serious. With 24 episodes coming out for the first season, I am slightly worried if they'll be able to keep up the episodic nature well enough. Obviously, there's plenty of shows that stay consistent through their episodic run like Mushishi or Cowboy Bebop, but it's hard to have full faith they'll be able to run through enough interesting circumstances to keep fully engaged for the entire run span of the show. In most episodic shows, like I mentioned in Cowboy Bebop and Mushishi, the main characters are constantly traveling throughout the world, while Mao Mao seems to be stuck inside this palace, which doesn't allow for quite as much creativity as the other shows, although I think it mostly depends on how the mentioned mysteries of the inner palace unfold with her medical advancements and what really ends up happening in the final few episodes. I've only heard good things about the manga, so I have good faith the show will stay consistent and be enjoyable for the whole runtime. I would definitely recommend checking it out at least. Thanks for watching.